Welcome, my friends, to the AI Music Intelligence Report, Episode 5. Today, we're taking a look at the so-called Say No to Suno campaign. This is going to be, I hope, a neutral as much as I can. I might fail with that because you already know where I roll. But this is going to be an analysis of the artist rights campaign and why it might be fighting the wrong battle. If you were not aware, on February 24th, the same day Google announced Producer AI with 250 countries in its launch and Lyria 3 powering royalty-free music creation at alphabet scale, a coalition of artists rights groups published an open letter on the tricordist Say No to Suno. Their grievances are legitimate. Their legal analysis is largely sound and their moral case is strong, but they're filing a noise complaint against one loud neighbor on the same morning a motorway is being built through their living room. This is an honest assessment of what the campaign gets right and what it gets wrong, and why singling out Suno in February 2026 may be the most precisely aimed shot at the least consequential target in the entire landscape. The campaign and what it says. So the Say No to Suno open letter was published, as I said, in the Tricordist, a blog known for rigorous data-driven pro-copyright advocacy. Its signatories are credible, established organizations with genuine standing in the music rights world. We have the Music Artists Coalition, the Artists' Rights Alliance, the Artists' Rights Institute, the European Composer and Songwriter Alliance, EXA, North Music Group, and ECR Music Group, and all are known for taking consistent pro-copyrightable positions. These are not opportunistic signatories. They have credibility on IP issues. So the letter actually argues two distinct pillars. Number one, training data. Suno, singled out in particular, built its business on our back, scraping the world's cultural output without permission, then competing against the very works exploited. This is the training data copyright argument, the same legal theory at the heart of the $500 million lawsuit that UMG and Sony are still actively pursuing. It has genuine legal traction. A court ruling this past summer found AI training on copyrighted works itself may qualify as fair use, but added that using illegally obtained works to train could result in billions in damages. The stream ripping from YouTube allegation against Suno is potentially the more explosive charge. The second pillar is walled gardens. The letter attacks Suno's refusal to implement a walled garden, a model where AI-generated music cannot be downloaded or distributed outside of the platform. The signatories want AI songs trapped on the platform that created them. This is a more contested policy argument with credible voices on both sides. But ask yourself, just why are most gardens surrounded by fences or walls? To keep out rabbits, deer, raccoon, wild pigs seeking a free lunch? We cultivate, nurture, and protect our gardens precisely because that makes them more productive. And that's from the Say No to Suno open letter. So are you likening the AI creative community that has people who might be disabled, those with various disabilities, as to rabbits, deer, and raccoons, and wild pigs looking for free lunch? You better get with the program. But anyway, I digress. If we had tried to lock music into closed systems over the last 25 years, we wouldn't have streaming as we know it. New innovations could spring from AI development, including new genres. But for that promise to be real, these tools can't just be toys inside a box, said Paul Sinclair, the Chief Music Officer of Suno, in his LinkedIn post on February 2nd. Neutral reading, both arguments have internal logic. The garden metaphor is evocative but imperfect. Gardens are enclosed to grow things within them, not to keep the gardener's product from reaching the markets. Sinclair's streaming analogy is also selective. Streaming succeeded partly because labels eventually got licensing deals, not because the system was entirely open. Neither side is wholly right or wholly wrong here. Going into part 2, the legal battlefield, who has settled and who hasn't. Well, the Say No to Suno campaign exists within a much larger context. You already know the story on this channel. 3 major labels, Sony, UMG, and WMG, both sued Suno and Udio in 2024 for $500 million in copyrightable infringement. That lawsuit has since fractured, each label pursuing its own strategy with dramatically different outcomes. The resulting patchwork tells us more about the industry priorities than any open letter can. So WMG versus Udio settled. UMG versus Udio settled. Sony versus Udio ongoing. WMG versus Suno settled. UMG versus Suno active. Sony versus Suno ongoing. Germany also has a vendetta against Suno. So we got Germany versus Suno, which is an international landscape, and we have Coda Denmark versus Suno. The key pivot point: a 2025 court ruling found AI training on copyrighted works may be fair use, but training on illegally obtained works could result in billions of damages. Allegations that Suno trained on YouTube rips could be the most legally explosive charge in the entire case. The split that matters: WMG's CEO Robert Kinsel settled with Suno without a walled garden, then said on an earnings call, "I think this issue is getting painted too much in black and white." He represents one of the 3 labels the open letter implicitly relies on for legal pressure. The label has already made its peace with open AI music creation. The coalition is now fighting half a war. Part 3, walled gardens and honest assessment. The walled garden concept, where AI-generated music cannot leave the platform that created it, is a pivot of this entire dispute. Sounds simple, but it isn't. Here's where both sides are actually arguing the case for walled gardens. It prevents AI-generated derivatives from flooding open streaming platforms where they compete directly with the licensed music that train them. UMG's Nash says, protect against direct cannibalization of artists, their work on open platforms. Udio's settlement proves the model is achievable, maintains the integrity of the streaming platform and royalty pools. AI content dilutes per stream payments to human artists without walls. It aligns with what 81.5% of the UK music consumers want: clear separation and clear labeling. Creates a viable commercial model, deep fan interaction with licensed content inside the garden without letting derivatives escape. Here is the case against walled gardens. WMG's Robert Kinsel, black and white is never the answer. Reddit users warned immediately after WMG's walled garden Udio deal. Soon there will be a model from China to fill the gap. And haven't we already seen that? Yes, we have. You know, I won't even mention that. I'm not going to give them any promo. Suno Sinclair closed systems historically failed in music. DRM, walled iTunes era, right? Google's producer AI has no walled garden. It has synth ID watermarks, but full download capability, launched in 250 countries. Why don't you go fight Google and see where you'll end up? The wall concept is already obsolete at scale. You saw what I did with producer AI. Even though it wasn't up to Suno level, it created some pretty high definition tracks. Open source AI music model, stable audio gen, music gen, AudioCraft require no platform at all. Walls around platforms are irrelevant to local model deployment. So the neutral verdict: the concept is sound in theory and proven in the case of Udio, but it requires the cooperation of every major AI music platform simultaneously to be effective. And that, my friends, is not coming anytime soon. So where the Say No to Suno is genuinely correct, a neutral analysis must acknowledge where the campaign's arguments hold up. So when it comes to training data, yes, we've heard the argument. A 2025 court ruling confirmed that training on illegally obtained works could generate billions of damages. Royalty dilution is real. We're not even going to argue that, right? The concern that AI-generated content dilutes per stream royalty pools on open platforms is mathematically valid. But the question is, who is listening to the AI music? And I would like to debate the fact that very few people are, and as a result of that, the fear-mongering is not justified. If Spotify's equivalent is similar to Deezer's, and experts suggest it is, the royalty pool per human-made stream is being compressed in real time. UMG's Nash has successfully added anti-dilution clauses to streaming agreements in response. They're competing against what is trained. The letter's core ethical charge, scraping the world's cultural output without permission, then competing against the very works exploited, is not only emotionally resonant, it is structurally accurate. Multi-jurisdictional legal pressure, Gemma from Germany, Coda, lawsuits show that the campaign has genuine international support. So I'm going to skip all of that and let's get to part 5, where the campaign is fighting the wrong battle. This is most important as far as, is it a lost cause? This is where honest, neutral analysis becomes uncomfortable for the campaign supporters. The Say No to Suno letter was published on the same day Google announced Producer AI. The coincidence is not just ironic, it is strategically devastating. Here is a structural problem with targeting Suno in February 2026. You cannot say no to Suno while yes to Google is happening simultaneously in the same news cycle. Suno is a hill. Google is a mountain. That's Everest. Suno is valued at $2.45 billion. Alphabet is valued at $3.77 trillion, 1,500 times larger. Winning the Suno lawsuit in full would eliminate one platform. Google's Producer AI launched in 250 countries the same day. The legal and activist energy being directed at Suno is disproportionate to its actual importance in the emerging landscape. And let's talk about the China problem. The most prescient response to the WMG Udio walled garden deal came from a Reddit user, not an analyst. Soon there will be a model from China to fill the gap. Don't you think that's true? It's already happening. Suno and Udio are US entities subject to US courts. Chinese AI music models, those operate outside the grid, outside every jurisdiction. These campaigns can reach. They do not compete on the US dogma or the UK or European dogma. They are totally off grid. And a lot of these open source free tools, these can be run locally on your own individual machine. So winning the case against Suno creates a vacuum, and that vacuum, just like in the Napster era, is going to be filled. Open source makes platforms irrelevant. Meta's Music Gen, Stability Audio, and AudioCraft are open source models. Anyone can run these locally. No platform, no server, no jurisdiction, no lawsuit. You cannot serve an open letter on a GitHub repository. You cannot force a walled garden on a model running on a laptop. Now, artist co-optation is already underway. As I covered on this channel some days ago, Grammy winners like Wyclef Jean and Lecrae are Google Producer AI launch partners. The Chainsmokers backed Producer AI pre-acquisition. The artist community the campaign speaks for is simultaneously the artist community being recruited as AI music advocates. The coalition will fracture as the financial incentives of AI partnership grows. It's going to happen. Legal fragmentation is a real threat. So, my friends, the proliferation problem, the numbers, Suno, Udio, Google Producer AI, Meta Music Gen, Stability Audio, AudioCraft, Udio's new licensed platform. In 2026, Chinese models incoming, 11 Labs, SoundDraw, Moobot, Boomi, not to mention others, which I won't go into now. Each one is a separate target requiring separate legal action. Artist rights groups have finite legal resources. They are going to very quickly burn out. The AI music ecosystem has effectively infinite capacity to spawn new entrants. It's an asymmetric war, my friends. How many Sunos exist right now? Yeah, Suno is an original, but there are many other platforms cropping up. Open source models, non-US models. It's a lost cause. What could actually move the needle if the goal is protecting the livelihoods of human musicians and the integrity of music copyright, rather than simply defeating Suno specifically? Here's where the evidence suggests energy is better spent. None of these are easy. The strategy: win the fair use training data case in court. Number 1. 2, mandatory viable AI labeling legislation, which, again, I'm not a fan of because I think labeling is more nuanced, but that will give them strong leverage, if anything. Anti-dilution clauses in all streaming contracts. It's kind of already working in some jurisdictions with UMG. The EU AI Act enforcement against training data provenance could be promising. And a few other strategies, as you can see. Walled garden is looking very weak. Say no to Suno, extremely weak. So the honest conclusion: the most consequential legal action in this space is not the open letter about no Suno. It's the ongoing UMG and Sony lawsuit against Suno, specifically the stream ripping from YouTube angle. And YouTube has not decided to pursue any legal action. You understand that Alphabet is too busy pursuing their own mousetrap. So if that case produces a clear ruling that training on illegally obtained works creates massive damages, liability, it changes the economics of AI training across the entire industry. That outcome is worth 1,000 open letters. So here's the verdict. Some key words to take away. Bear in mind that, yes, valid training data grievance, but the walled garden logic holds only partially. WMG has already broken the ranks, and remember that Google launched the same day. China will fill any gap. Trust me, they are so ready. They are chomping at the bit. They are ready to go. In fact, you don't stand a chance against China. Once they go all in full Monty in the next few years with killer open source systems, just forget it, right? As I said, it's an asymmetric war. The letter is right, but the strategies outpace. Say no to Suno. Yeah, you have the right? Morally correct on the training data issue. Seems legally sound, practically limited in its impact, and strategically outflanked. The honest assessment is this: defeating Suno, even completely, does not solve this problem. You can feel like you've won the war against Suno, but you still have Google Producer AI, which is going to be mammoth by the time they're done. 1,500 times larger, backed by 3.77 trillion in market cap, and 90% advertising revenue incentives. My friends, the future of this argument is very grim. I do not think they have any leg to stand on here, but as a good reporter, I wanted you to understand what is at play in this Volume 1, Issue 5 AI Music Intelligence Report. Thank you for joining me. If you've enjoyed it, smash the like button if it's made you think differently. Even if you're on the opposing side, smash the like button, subscribe. I'll see you next time. Bye for now.